The Vancouver Canucks score 4 unanswered goals and 3 in the third to complete the comeback to win Game 1 versus the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to break down this game, some big pieces that people might have missed, and one thing that is a tiny bit concerning. We'll get into this later on this episode. Before we start, I just want to say to thousands of you watching that aren't subscribed, if you're enjoying this Canucks content and you want to catch it daily, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free, and you'll stay up to date with everything to do with the Canucks. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is Canucks comeback win. Now, I'm sure everyone watching this watched the game or are watching the highlights, whatever it is. The Vancouver Canucks complete yet another comeback to win 5-4 in Game 1 versus the Edmonton Oilers. Now, you can look at the stats. You want to look at the shots on goal because we will be touching on this later. But the Canucks had 24 shots on goal, 63.5% on the faceoffs. Power play obviously didn't get a goal. 4 penalty minutes, 35 hits, 12 block shots, and I'm fired up, Griffin. I know you're fired up. What's the biggest thing you look at this Canucks team and just said, wow, this really surprised me tonight?
First thing was the offense. I mean, the offense really showed up tonight. It was a really nice change of pace from a very defensive series against Nashville. I think that's all about game planning. When you look at Nashville, they're a very defensive and front and heavy team. Whereas Edmonton is very much offensive. They're trying to be top heavy speed and trying to burn you offensively rather than play defensively. I thought Vancouver attacked and exploited that very well. They were leading on the shot board for once. That was incredible. And then they were able to also lock down those offensive studs as well, which was amazing to see. McDavid didn't get a single shot on net, which was awesome. I think it was very well played defensively for Vancouver. And I think the big dogs showed up, especially when they needed to. You see a lot of different things there where you have not a lot of capitalization on the power play, but they were able to stop Edmonton when it mattered most in crunch time and just keep the momentum on their side with that home crowd just rocking.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I know we kind of joked about it before recording. The fact that the Canucks actually let in shots, having 24, is something that feels real good. The Canucks really did rally, and it was behind 2 big names. Obviously, Dakota Joshua. And before I even get into the next part of this, I want to say, if you can hear that, that's the Brinks truck backing up for this guy. For him and Zadorov, these guys need to be paid. This is the second time in the second straight series that Dakota Joshua had 3 points in Game 1. We've seen it against Nashville. We've seen it against the Oilers. And he really kept this team together, kept them alive. And Zadorov, Zadorov was outstanding. He's a physical force. We've seen him getting under Draisaitl's skin. We've seen the slap shot from the point. And this really gets into the second topic today, which is thank you, Calgary. Thank you for a guy like Zadorov. Thank you for a guy like Elias Lindholm. Yes, you guys are little brothers, and the Edmonton Oilers are the little brothers of the Canucks as well. But the biggest thing with this is you look at this comeback, it all started with Elias Lindholm scoring that goal late in the second period. We see JT Miller get on the board, Nikita Zadorov get on the board immediately after, and then we've seen Dakota Joshua and Nikita Zadorov assist on Connor Garland's just nasty goal. And just, Griffin, what's your thoughts on just this rally coming back and Calgary's players that we acquired this season being a big part of it?
Calgary players were huge. I mean, we can't thank them enough. We'll take whatever they were giving us and we'll turn them into superstars, especially in the postseason like they have been. Lindholm has been unstoppable, it seems like. He wanted to smoke with McDavid head on and he took it and he won that battle. It was a great showing by him and Zadorov. Zadorov got that rally going again in the third period. He just kept that momentum going. It was great that they were able to stay within the game while they were down 4-2. I was watching it thinking they're not completely out of this game. Most teams, when you look at them being down 2 goals in the playoffs, especially to a team like Edmonton, you get really concerned. But the fact that they were down only 2 goals and McDavid wasn't doing too much, nor Draisaitl being absent for a lot of the second period, I was watching it thinking that Vancouver is 1 or 2 bad bounces away from getting back in this game. And that's exactly what it was. And they were able to do that and just keep that momentum riding and just ride it all the way to the finish.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, and like you said, Zadorov was a huge part of this. We've seen them just get closer to this comeback. They got it within 1. And then we've seen Nikita Zadorov come in with this absolute slap shot, just a clapper from the point, rallying the crowd, rallying the team. And less than 30 seconds later, we've seen Connor Garland get the go-ahead goal. I want to give a shout out to the guys that might have not made the score sheet too. Like I said, you have a couple guys like Pettersson. Yes, we need to talk about this, but that is for a different point in this video. Pettersson was great defensively to end this game. Same with a guy like JT Miller, Tyler Myers. These guys in the dying seconds put their body on the line to keep this comeback alive, to make sure that the Edmonton Oilers didn't get this goal to tie it up, force overtime, where one bounce changes everything. The Canucks are going into Game 2 with a 1-0 lead, and it's an absolute momentum shift. And just, Griffin, what's your thoughts on, even though Pettersson and a few guys never got on the score sheet, what's your thoughts on those just defensive play, not giving up at the end of the game?
I thought Pettersson played well defensively. I think it was great for him to get that poke check away later on. He drew the penalty. He was awesome defensively, stopping shots when they needed them in that last final few minutes. It was awesome that there was other guys that didn't show up on the point sheet, like you said. They were still effective in the game. We still need to see a few line changes, maybe spiced up, but that will be something to be addressed for Game 2. We still were able to get it done in Game 1. And it's the playoffs. They don't ask how, they ask how many. And in a game where they needed to open up the series the right way, we were still able to come out on top 1-0. And that's one game closer that we are to winning this series.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And like you said, with the line changes, the big thing is the top line, even though they didn't look great right out of the gates, they did play well. I'm just saying they weren't on the score sheet, I should have said. But the biggest thing with this is when you do look, the second line, if you want to call it so kind, second line with Huggy, Pettersson, Mikheyev, then you see the fourth line. I think this is where you might see a switch. Maybe a guy like Sam Lafferty getting up into this top six on the side of maybe Pettersson, and you put Mikheyev down. Whatever it might be, Pettersson needs to get on the score sheet. He has 3 assists in the 7 games they've played. And once this guy gets going, it's going to be hard to keep this Canucks team off the score sheet. We'll see the power play come back. I know during practice today, we've seen Daniel Sedin, Hendrik Sedin, Tocchet, Gonchar. These guys were helping with the power play. It's only a matter of time. And it really gets into what you kind of alluded to was defense wins championships. And when you do look at this, I know you were talking about it before, Connor McDavid was held off the shot totals. He had 0 shots, 1 assist, no goals. And just what's your thoughts on the matchups of this, and what's your thoughts on Elias Lindholm taking him one-on-one and just really taking this line to another level?
Going into this series, I'll admit I was a little concerned about that matchup. It's hard not to be when it's McDavid. He's a world-class talent, arguably the best player in the NHL right now. I know there's a lot of debate going on around that, but he has been lights out all year, and when he's a 100-point player, it's hard to limit that. However, Elias Lindholm wanted the smoke. He got it, and he took it, and he contained it. Like, somehow he was able to bottle him up, and seeing that shot total kept at 0 the entire game, I kept waiting for the announcers to jinx it for him to get that one shot and that to be this a total buzzkill, but he wasn't able to, and that was a great relief for me. And like you said too, it's only a matter of time before Pettersson gets going, and when he does, it's going to be very dangerous for Vancouver because they haven't had everybody clicking like they have all season, and once they do, it's going to be very, very hard to stop this Vancouver team.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is we're seeing this great defensive just play from Pettersson, just anyone within this lineup. They kept McDavid off the board. McDavid's going to be a player that you're not going to be able to completely eliminate out of the series, but limiting him to chances, scoring chances, whatever it might be. Yes, Zach Hyman scored 2, his 9th in, I believe, it's 6 games. We've seen Draisaitl get on the board with 2 assists as well, but you're not going to be able to shut down all this talent, but you can limit them. And like I said at the beginning of this, the shots total. This is a team that a lot of people look at and say, hey, the Edmonton Oilers are the best offense in the NHL. The Vancouver Canucks just held the best offense, quote unquote, to 18 total shots. You could see 4 shots in the second period, 4 shots in the third. The biggest thing with this is, I believe Draisaitl had the last shot in the second period. I believe it's 3 or 4 minutes left. And then it went 4 or 5 minutes into the third period before the Oilers even got a shot on the board. The Canucks really gave everything they could on the defensive end. Yes, they had some lapses. Yes, the Oilers had a lead at one point. But the Canucks completed this comeback. And like I said, I'm fired up. Like you were saying, Pettersson's going to eventually get on this board. It's a matter of time before everything starts to click. I know one thing people want to talk about a lot and people are worried to talk about, and that gets into the goalie continues to be in question. Now, obviously, we see Shilov's had a .765 save percentage. He didn't look the best. I know going into the third period, a lot of fans, people on social media, everyone was saying, hey, maybe they look at Casey Smith going into the third period, but we've seen Rick Tocchet look past the old and look at the new and said, hey, this is our guy. We're not giving up. We're keeping Shilovs in. And Griffen, what's your thoughts on his just choice on that and how it impacted the game?
I respect Tocchet for sticking with his guy. He doesn't want to spice anything up. You don't want to cause too much change as far as mid-game. He entrusted in his goalie. He also entrusted in his defense. He said, hey, if our defense can limit Edmonton's chances, Shilovs can handle that. And it's when he's getting bombarded with pucks left, right, and center that it's a little hard to stop, especially from a team like Edmonton. But the fact that Tocchet was able to trust in his defense and that they were going to stop Edmonton completely on offense, that was a sign for him to be able to trust in his goalie to take him all the way through the finish. As far as what goes on for the next few games, I'm not too sure about what happens there. But you want to ride with the hot hand, and I guess that's what he did, and you want to keep that going no matter what. The fans were still able to get behind it. You saw all the Shilov shirts in the crowd. You heard the chants. They were still pretty happy about it, regardless of how he may have performed overall. But again, I don't think entirely he played horribly. However, there was a few pucks there that he definitely should have had, but it was his first real pressurized playoff game aside from the elimination game the other night. But it's the first game against Edmonton where it's a tough team to beat, and I think he still rises to the occasion decently.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself. And the biggest thing with this is Oilers fans on social media were talking all their stuff, saying how this was going to be 4 wins. Edmonton Oilers take this serious in 4, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at this, the Oilers just lost to our third-string goaltender, a goaltender that hasn't played in the NHL other than really this year. He had a few starts last year. This is a guy that started the season in the AHL. I'm sure the Oilers are going to come up with the reasonings why they lost, how it was against them and everything like that. But you guys just lost to our third-string goaltender and soon-to-be backup goaltender, maybe the goalie of the future. Shilovs is in net. We trust him at this point. Like I said, Rick Tocchet wanted this guy, and Rick Tocchet gets what he wants. And like I said, the Canucks ended up winning. But what's your guys' thoughts on this game? Just let us know down in the comments. I'm sure everyone's fired up. And with that, we'll get into everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. Comment of the day comes from Cash McGregor. He says, no shortage of Canucks doubters. Been like that all year. That's why in the part they have success years so far. Pettersson and Mikheyev had to find their game. Pettersson was top of his game in the early 3 wins against the Oilers. And I couldn't have said this better myself. We kind of just talked about it during the video as well. But Pettersson needs to find his game. And Griffen, what's your notice on just how Pettersson hasn't been himself?
Pettersson definitely hasn't been himself. He's been battling injury, it seems like, and he was battling an illness earlier this week. He didn't practice the other day. It was pretty concerning going into this game if he was for sure going to play or not for a little bit, but he still battled through it, so you got to commend him for that. But like we've said, I think it's only a matter of time before he finds his groove. He was getting some good looks. He was arguably getting some better looks than he got against Nashville early on. So if he's able to continue that, it's only a matter of time before he gets through. It's just like Suter the other night where he had 2 chances before where he was getting very frustrated, but Miller said to him, keep attacking, keep going there. Eventually you're going to get through. I think Pettersson is on track to do exactly that. And as far as how people have been counting out the Canucks, I think that's been their identity this whole season. Like, we hear about these teams that have like their thing that makes them who they are. With Edmonton, it's their speed and their high-powered offense. With Vancouver, it's just the fact that they're just the chippy team on the block. They're the ones that have been the underdogs despite being high-powered. They have talent all around that's just all around solid. So when all those guys are performing, it's hard to pick who to limit as far as 1 or 2 top players. So with them having that, they're not the fastest team, they're not the biggest team, but they're definitely going to fight the hardest, and they're going to find a way to win the most.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is, like you said, the underdogs. And it's insane to me because you look at this team, top of the Pacific. They're a team that won 4 games against the Edmonton Oilers in the 4 they played. You see people on ESPN, NHL.com. All these reports had the Canucks in the losing category. We've seen one reporter out of, what was it, 23 people said that the Canucks would win this series. The Canucks are coming back. We take game 1. This is the momentum they need. Like we said, Pettersson gets on the score sheet. This is a different team once he does. But that'd be it for this episode of Canucks Digest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go down and leave a like. Leave a comment. You could be featured on the next episode as comment of the day. Like, subscribe, share this with your friends, whatever you want to do. Everyone's happy right now. Everyone in Vancouver is buzzing. Let's take game 2 and let's get ready for it. With that, take care.